Joined now by HuskerOnline, Sean Callahan. Sean, good morning. Nebraska does have a primetime game, a blackout versus USC on Saturday. But still, in the last few weeks, it's all been, hey, who is Matt Rule going to be Nebraska's head coach next year or go to Penn State? What have you heard since the last 2 weeks have happened with that situation in terms of where things potentially can stand with Matt Rule and Nebraska or Penn State?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things, guys, it's very fluid. It changes by the day, by the minute. I mean, what we know is there's been nothing like officially signed by Matt Rule, an extension of any kind. And, will there be? I mean, you would assume there'd be something if he's staying at Nebraska or they want to kind of get this thing figured out with him in Penn State. I mean, I know the people we talk to at Penn State, Blue White Illustrated, and they do a great job in State College there. Mm-hmm. The feeling they get is, Rule's no longer kind of in it with them. I mean, that's just their feeling that they're hearing out there, and that, he's set to stay at Nebraska. Now, nothing's been official or done officially, and we can't get anything confirmed. And, Nebraska, if he does sign something, will put something out. The question I have is, if he does re-sign anything, what does that look like? Because he already carries 5 years on his contract. He already has a financial package that is going to pay him more than Curt Cignetti's going to get on his brand new contract. So if he were to be re-signed, I mean, what does that look like? Is it more years? Is it more money? Is it NIL type things that they're looking for? What will be some of the things if you were to stay? Is the stadium project a priority to get that rolling? What are the things moving forward?
Sean, you covered that well. I think we could just stop it right there because it's so speculative. I will ask you this though. I don't want to load up the question. Do you consider it important for Nebraska to retain Rule? Do you feel like this program, I guess what I'm asking you, is on the proper trajectory?
I think it's kind of week to week. You'd love to see some momentum and the season finish out what it is, but he is retained in the sense that he carries 5 more years on his contract. It's not like, right, he's in danger of his contract expiring.
No.
But yeah, it's a matter of like what kind of further commitment, if everyone's on the same page, does there need to be? I mean, what is Rule looking for? What is Nebraska, what's their expectation? But, you've got USC, UCLA, Penn State, and Iowa. And this is as tough of a November stretch as Matt Rule's faced since he's been at Nebraska. And we know what the previous record for Nebraska has been the last couple of years in November. It's not been great, with 1 win only. And this is, to me, the hardest stretch they'll play when you look at just the road trips involved and the way Iowa's playing, and obviously the talent level USC is going to come into Lincoln with.
Sean, under Rule, Nebraska's 7-3 in the month of October, 1-7 in November. Since 2019, Nebraska's 4-19 in the month of November. What does the month of November mean in your eyes? Why is it important? I mean, why does Nebraska need to reverse this trend now?
Well, years ago, Bill Callahan had a quote at Nebraska. This might have been in 06 or 05. I forget when it was, but he said, "People remember what you do in November." Mm-hmm. And that's the truth. I mean, yep. People remember that Iowa has owned Nebraska in November. I mean, I've said this to you guys a few times now. I mean, I truly believe Kirk Ferentz's success over Nebraska the last 10 years, has really changed the trajectory of, his time there. I mean, if he loses those Black Friday games, they're not going to the same bowl. The record's not the same, but he's owned Nebraska, and you remember that. And they get bumped up to a better bowl game, and their off seasons are better. Yeah. And Nebraska has just not had that type of November. I mean, last year they got the win over Wisconsin, which was huge just to get to the bowl and whatnot, but they haven't had a November like Iowa had. Last week they hammered Minnesota, and then they got, the ranked, or they're going to be ranked probably, but they've got a tough schedule ahead. So that is important. I think you have to get these clutch November wins to kind of define your year, because it kind of changes everything for you.
Sean, we live in a world right now that entering November, there's a great chance that Indiana, Vanderbilt, and Georgia Tech are playoff teams. Nebraska right now, we're saying, where's Nebraska's future with Matt Rule? I mean, if those teams can make the playoff, like, how long does it be for Nebraska to be in that conversation and actually do it?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jake. And I think a lot of it is the line play and just having the proper bodies and development that you need to win in this league. And Nebraska, and just look no further than the draft data the last 10 years. They just have not consistently had the lineman bodies up front to play at the level it needs to be, to win. I mean, they've had talent on these rosters. We know there's been some talented players on some of these teams, but they just, for whatever reason, have come up short in some key areas. In Indiana, obviously Cignetti is kind of the 1 in 100, and everyone wants that, but I don't know how realistic what he's doing is everywhere else. But the Vanderbilt story should get your attention because, there was a point where Clark Lee looked like he might be being pushed out of Andy.
Right.
And now he's got him rolling with a New Mexico State transfer quarterback that nobody really wanted. And then they took him as a transfer, and he's kind of turned college football upside down.
Yeah, and those are key acquisitions. I mean, you have to give that coach full credit. He found that guy that nobody was really looking at, and that guy has changed his program. You give a coach credit for that. Now, as far as Nebraska goes, Sean, there's this kind of stat that doesn't get talked about very much. It's a feather in John Butler's cap to a certain extent. Nebraska this season through 8 games is yet to allow an opponent 400 yards. This is a supreme test for this USC team's a supreme test, averaging 530. Why does that stat get overlooked a little bit?
I just think some of the styles of the game Nebraska plays, they've possessed the ball on offense a long time. It maybe limits possessions. And I think just the feel of some of the games. I mean, the Michigan game, they didn't give up 400 yards, but it sure didn't feel good when you give up a bunch of home run runs. The Minnesota game, they didn't give up 400 yards, but you watched the game, it didn't feel good. So you can't always get wrapped up in stats,
right?
Because they're 2 losses. But they didn't give up 400 yards, but I don't think you walked away saying, man, the defense played at an elite level because they didn't give up 400. I just think every game is different, and the play count too. When you're only running 56, 60 plays a game, you better not give up 400 yards. You're going to be in trouble if you're giving up more than that on 50, 60 snaps in a game.
Michigan got 391.
They're close.
Yeah, they were close. Go ahead, Jay.
Go my Sean Callahan. Sean, Emmett Johnson. Now, SIP has rightfully so been angry about this stat for a long time. It's been since 2011 that Nebraska's had a first-team All-American player. Emmett Johnson right now enters November 5th in the country in rushing yards. I'm curious, Sean, if he has a strong November, is he, looking at a first-team All-Big Ten and potentially in the All-American conversation for Emmett Johnson at running back?
Well, he's been one of the best running backs in the country at 10-plus yard runs.
Okay.
I mean, especially in Power 4, but, it tails off when you get to 15-plus yard runs.
Yeah.
So he's very good at getting the 10 to 14-yard run. And that's been a big part of his success and what he's been able to do. But I think first team All Big Ten is a realistic path. All American, I think a lot of it will depend on how Nebraska plays down the stretch. I don't know if he's a first teamer, but today Justice Haynes and Emmett Johnson will probably be your top backs in the Big Ten. USC's had injuries in their backfield. So their numbers are a little not right. Ohio State doesn't really have one guy carrying the load. So Iowa doesn't either as far as what we've seen with them in the past. So it's just set up for Emmett because there's very few teams that have relied on one back the way Nebraska has with Emmett Johnson in the Big Ten. And he's capitalized on that.
Sean, I don't know if you've thought this far ahead. It's only Wednesday. Is there, in your mind, what's Nebraska's path to victory on Saturday?
Again, the balance of the offense has to be there. They've got to figure out a way to disrupt Maeva. I'm not saying sack him because he's only been sacked 4 times all year.
Wow.
He's mobile enough. He moves well enough that you don't sack him very much. But can they get him out of rhythm? And Lincoln Riley, as we know, is a great rhythm offensive coach when he gets rolling. But they have not been a great road team. Since they've come to the Big Ten, their road wins are few and far between, and they've lost at a lot of places in the Big Ten. When you kind of study how they've transitioned to this league, so that intangible, you can't look past that. And you hope the night atmosphere, it's a little cooler, compared to what they're coming from. I mean, there's some intangibles that you hope will help Nebraska in this game with the crowd and the different conditions that, it's not going to be terrible weather, but it's 40, 50 degrees colder here than it is in LA right now.
Yeah, I think we're going to be in the 30s. Speaking of atmosphere, you're really good at atmosphere questions. What do you anticipate? What do you think this game will look like, feel like at Memorial Stadium at 6:30 p.m.?
There's going to be a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement. I also think there's a lot of fear. I mean, just not knowing what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody really knows what to expect. I think it could go one of two ways. They're going to turn this into a 4-quarter fist fight that goes down to the final possession, or USC is going to be too much, and Nebraska is not going to be able to match their offense. And I mean and they're going to get beat by 10, 14 points. Yeah. I mean, that's how I see this game going, and we'll know right away. And I think a lot of it's going to be how do they stop the run, how do they match up against the run, and then Dylan, if he's in a good rhythm early and they're getting the ball out of his hand down the field. It's a big game for Dana Holgorsen. I mean, it really is. When you think about him at Nebraska, a moment like this to have the offense kind of geared up against Lincoln Riley, what will Dana get out of this group?
Great point, Sean.
Sean, always good stuff. Thanks for the time. We will chat with you again next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.
HuskerOnline, Sean Callahan.